peace that he has with you. I grew up, man, I remember hearing people say in the church, and my dad and other folks, would say, sit down, when, like, if it's thundering and lightning outside, go sit down while God's working. He'll strike you down. I would hear stuff like that. And, growing up, I heard how angry God could get with us if we didn't line up and do what we were supposed to do, and how God will strike you down. God will strike you dead. And that was true in the Old Testament. After Adam sinned, we were born with a sin nature. Romans 5 and 15 all the way to 20. We'll get into that later, but I want you to understand that the sin that started everything and that messed it all up for all of us was Adam's disobedience. Once he disobeyed God, we were then born with a sin nature. We didn't have to do anything to sin. We were sin. We had a sin nature. It's our nature. That was the problem, was the nature. And if you don't believe me, I'm telling you, I got a 2-year-old right now. Man, her name is Eden. And and she is a handful, and I could say to her some things she's never been taught before. But I could say, Eden, don't do this. Eden, don't do that. And because I said not to do it, guess what? She will go and do it. It's in her to do the opposite of what I want her to do. You know what that is? That's that sin nature that we all were born into. We were born with a sin nature. And because we were born with the sin nature, we understand that God the Father hates sin. So it wasn't that he hated us. He hated the sin that was in us. He hated the nature that we have. So you know what? And I know I'm going to get in, like I say, I'm going to get into a whole lot of stuff. I'm just going to try to take you through this a little bit. But God, we were not being judged by God the first 2,000 years of mankind. God didn't judge us. Romans 5 and I think it's 13 said sin was in the world, but sin was not imputed. Sin is not imputed where there is no law. So the sin, even though sin was in the world, sin was not being imputed unto us. So let me show you real quick. Romans 5 and 13, it says, for until the law, sin was in the world, but sin is not imputed where there is no law. See, so sin was in the world from the beginning. It was evil then, it wasn't called sin. Now, that's a whole nother teaching within itself. But it was evil. Before God flooded the earth, it said that every imagination of every person was evil continuously. It wasn't technically sin, because there was no law, but it was evil continuously. So it says sin was in the world, but sin was not imputed where there is no law. So even though people were sinning, we didn't have to give an account for that sin. It wasn't imputed unto us. And that word imputed is an accounting term. It's like if you took a credit card and you swiped a credit card, you purchased a TV, in Best Buy. Well, that purchase was imputed onto your credit card. So that TV was purchased and it was imputed unto you. But even though you didn't pay for it right then and there, you used a credit card, but you're going to get a statement at some point and you're going to have to pay for that TV. But it was imputed unto you. You got the TV, that TV went onto your credit. It's yours. Where our sins were not imputed unto us. God was not judging our sins, but until the law came. I explained, look, once the law came, a man picked up sticks on the Sabbath, and on the Sabbath, you couldn't do nothing. A man just picked up sticks, to make a fire on the Sabbath.